Hello, and welcome to Mark's Woodworking Challenges. I'm Mark, your host, and today we have a special hand tool challenge. We will be evaluating the Accu-Burr scraper burnisher, recently released as a collaboration between Union Manufacturing Company and Blackburn tools. As this is a burnisher, of course, and it's meant to be used with scrapers, obviously, especially card scrapers. And so we will be trying to put it through its paces today. Now, before we go on, I bought my Accu-Burr, paid standard retail price for it. No one is paying me to do this video. However, one of my kids gave me 2 shares of Union Manufacturing Company stock as a Christmas present last year, so I guess that represents a small conflict of interest. However, if you're a long-time viewer of my videos, you will know that I strive to be as objective as possible, and we will try to continue that in today's evaluation of the Accu-Burr. Alright, so let's take a close-up look at the Accu-Burr. Okay, so here it is, the Accu-Burr. The Accu-Burr is a carbide rod about this long. You can see that this is the box that it came in, so it gives you an idea of the length of the thing. It is a carbide rod, and machined into this carbide rod are 3 V-shaped grooves. And I think we're going to be challenged throughout this video when it comes to close-ups, so I will do animations instead. This is the box that it came with. Now, like I say, there's not much more to it than that. You can use the carbide rod as is. It does not require anything else to be used. However, I think most people will want to put handles on it, as I did, and you can see that I simply have 2 handles, copper ferrules from the plumbing section of the big box store, and it was not very difficult to do all that. And that will help you, the extra length will help you make sure that the thing is perpendicular to the scraper when you use it. So definitely, probably you'll want to do that. Here's the sort of a pictorial representation of the Accu-Burr. There are 3 V-shaped grooves machined in it. A small one, a medium-sized one, and a large one. And the angles of these are slightly different in each of the 3 cases. This one is intended, the small one is intended to turn a fine burr on your scraper. Medium obviously is exactly that, and this would turn the largest burr. The angles aren't identical in these 3. They are on Union Manufacturing's website. You can look those up for yourself, but it's something like, from memory, don't quote me, 23, 25, and 27 degrees or something like that. Like I say, don't quote me. And here's the key, the fundamental premise of the Accu-Burr burnisher. Basically, here's the V groove, here's your card scraper, and the idea is that you can run this burnisher perpendicular to your card scraper, and each of these edges will create a burr on the corner, on both corners of the card scraper. It will do this at the same time. It will do it reproducibly because of the angle here, you can hold the burnisher perpendicular to the card scraper, and that will make it easier. Not only you get two burrs at once, and you get a more precise, easy to maintain geometry. So that, in a nutshell, is the premise behind the Accu-Burr. Okay, in today's video, I have basically 4 different scrapers, actually just 3 that we'll be testing. This is the card scraper that I've always used. It's a Sandvik. However, it is so old that the logo has worn off long ago. This is a scraper that I made from a saw plate. And this is a scraper that is used for curved edges, or straight, I guess, as depending on which way you go. And one of the beauties of the Accu-Burr, because you hold it perpendicular, it's fairly simple to, you can use it on curved edges as well as straight. Basically, because of the perpendicular arrangement, you can just run it along a curved edge fairly easily. And we'll be testing that out. I'm not sure how far we're going to get today. The curved edges may have to wait for part 2. We'll see where we get. Now, this card scraper is 30.03 inches. This one is 0.04 inches. And so those are the only 2 thicknesses I've got. This one, as it turns out, is 0.032, so basically identical to the first one. And so we'll test scrapers of different thicknesses, but we do not have a wide variety. As you might imagine, reproducibility is going to be elusive in today's video. To help try to keep things as comparable as possible, I'm going to adopt the following protocol. I'm only going to use one edge. I'll do most of my experiments with this card scraper, and I'm only going to use one edge marked with an arrow. You'd be surprised how easy it is to lose track of which edge you're working with, I found out. So you only use this edge, and every time I do something with it, test a different V-groove, or we'll describe the experiments in just a bit. Every time I do something with it, I'll regrind and rehone the edge. I think that's about as good as I can do. Okay, let me describe that edge preparation next. I thoroughly flattened both sides on a water stone, perfectly flat water stone, flattened both sides as part of the prep, and that would be a normal thing that you would do for any scraper. Okay, so here's going to be a brief description of how I freshen the edge. Now, basically, there are 2 approaches to prepping the edge of a card scraper. One is you can try to balance the card scraper on edge. Usually you'll have some sort of jig to make sure you're holding it perpendicular. Or the alternative is that you fix the card scraper in something like a vise and then bring the abrasive to the card scraper. I prefer that method, the latter one. So what I do is, I've got this little device. I put the card scraper in here. So to begin with, I just barely project the card scraper above the surface, tighten it down so it stays put it in the vise, tighten the vise. Then I first file the edge. You have to do that on occasion because if you try to repeatedly turn a burr on a card scraper, you will work harden the edge, and then you won't be able to turn the burr anymore, or at least it won't be as good. So you need to get rid of that work hardening. And so I sort of file every time just as a matter of course. And then I hone it. I either use two systems. One is I take 220 sandpaper and go followed by 1,000 sandpaper. And you see the beauty here is that with the edge just projecting above the surface, you can't be very far off of perpendicular when you're running the abrasive back and forth here. So that's why I like this method. So I'm either going to use 2 grades of sandpaper or more, or sometimes I use a Waterstone. Either way is fine. Any abrasive actually works. The procedure will still be the same. Then once I've got the edge as good as I can make it, I'll loosen this, pop up the card scraper, tighten it back down, take the Accu-Burr and run it back and forth across the edge. So there's the procedure in a nutshell. Okay, once I've got the edge prepared and the burr turned, it's time to scrape a board. And in this case, the board I'm using is the Woodworking Challenges standard test board. Normally when we're testing a plane, we have it up like this, working with the edge. But today, I'm going to go for the flat side of the board and use and test the card scraper on this surface. Now what I'd like to do is 4 different experiments. One, we're going to test the 3 different V grooves. The second, we're going to test the thicker scraper. We're going to do most of our test with the Sandvik, but then we're going to do the thicker scraper and see how that works. Then we're going to just do a quick experiment to see if putting oil on the burnisher helps when you're turning the burr. And then lastly, we're going to see as we said before, we just use the burnisher is meant to be used on the edge of a card scraper without any additional prep other than honing and making sure that it's perpendicular. Normally when you're doing a card scraper and turning a burr, you first draw up the metal in that direction, and we'll demonstrate that in just a bit when we do this part of the experiment, and then you turn the burr over. And so apparently that's not required with the Accu-Burr, but we're going to do a quick test to see if it helps using the Accu-Burr. So there you have it, 4 different experiments. Okay, we're going to show one edge preparation live, and then the rest of them we're going to do it off camera because A, it would be boring, and B, it would take a huge amount of time. So here we go. First thing we do, we're gonna file the edge. Going to mark it to make sure that I'm doing what I think I'm supposed to be doing. Okay, ink is all gone, so that seems to have gone pretty well. Now what I have here is just a piece of plywood, but it's a fairly decent quality piece of plywood, pretty reliably flat, I would say. 220 grit sandpaper, and I'm going to feel for perpendicular. And then do this. Well, I was going to, usually every time I mark the edge to make sure that I've actually removed that surface. Here we go. Feel for perpendicular. Change places. Always be feeling for perpendicular. Okay, 220, 1000, same thing. Ink, feel for perpendicular. Perpendicular, yep. Okay. Let's see how we did. We're going to pop it up here, tighten it back down. Should have fairly crisp feeling corners. And now we're going to run the burnisher over it, and I'm going to start with the small groove. Okay, testing the small burr. We know which edge we were working with. You can see how that could get confusing. Gloves are on so that I don't burn the crap out of my thumbs. And here we go. Got some shavings there. That's looking pretty good, but you know, it's a little dusty. But this is the very fine setting, which allegedly is good for people that want to scrape marquetry. I have no experience in this area, so I'm just going to have to take the word for it that that kind of fine burr is what's required. If I were trying to scrape, well, you know, obviously this is not what the, you know, this kind of application is not what an exceptionally fine burr is really meant for. It would not be what I would be using, but nonetheless, you can see we were making some shavings, sort of a mix of shavings and dust. Okay, now for the medium-sized V groove. Wow, look at that. That is nice. That is pretty. curling shavings just as pretty as you please. I hope this is showing up well enough on camera. Other side. Now here's an important point. I did both corners at once and they're both making pretty shavings. I'm just going to line them up there for a while. Because it can be a little addictive to do this. Fortunately, this is a thick board. Well, that's enough. Don't want to take up too much time doing this, but let's take a look. Okay, now it's time for the large V-groove. Now here, you could feel the burr previously on the medium-sized V-groove, but now, you know, you can definitely, it's abundantly clear that there's a burr there. You can feel it very easily. Yeah. Still taking shavings. Nice. We're just going to line them up there again, just like we did last time. Both sides are working pretty good. Alrighty then. So check. I couldn't honestly say, you know, both the medium and the big made shavings about equally well. Definitely better than the small one, but like I say, I don't do marquetry. Maybe that's what they want. So pretty happy with both the medium and the big size V-groove. Now the next thing we wanted to try was the thicker scraper blade. So stay tuned. Okay, time for the thicker blade. I'm going to do this freehand. Normally, I use this scraper in a holder because a 40 thousandths blade is pretty hard for me to bend, which you normally want to do when you're using a scraper. But for purposes of this experiment and to keep things comparable, I'm going to go ahead and try to bend it like this. Yep, worked just as well in the thicker blade, although frankly not a lot thicker, so it's not, I guess maybe it's more of a test of just two different scrapers. Like I say, hard for me to bend this one, so I'm going to try to do the same thing, but my thumbs are feeling it. But there you go. I'm lining them up just like I did the last time. Oh. Whew. I'm going to have sore muscles there tomorrow. Okay. Enough of that. That's good enough. Okay. There you have it. Another nice row of shavings. So, two different scrapers. Apparently pretty equally good results. And and an extra 10 thousandths of thickness using the large V groove did not really make much difference. Okay, next test. We're going to see if a little oil helps. Okay, does it help to put a little oil on here before burnishing? So here's our oil, 20 weight oil, straight 20 weight. Apply a drop there on that large V groove. Oops, didn't quite have the darn thing tight enough. I've been taking about 4 passes on it. Oh yeah. Well, definitely got a burr, no doubt about that. All right, we'll take a shaving in just a sec. Okay, I can definitely feel a burr there again. There you have it. If you can't, I hope you can see that in the camera. Nice shavings. Gonna line them up here just like I did. Thumbs are getting tired after all this. I can't honestly say the shavings, it's taking very nice shavings. I can't say that it's any better than the previous time without oil. So didn't hurt, so I guess that's probably, maybe that's left up to you guys to experiment with. All right, next up we're going to see if drawing the edge will help with the burr. Okay, now we're going to see if drawing the edge helps any. And basically what we're going to do is take our burnisher and move in this direction so that we drag a little metal up here and stretch it out, and it should make these sort of points here on the edge. So it's no longer a perfectly 90-degree corner, it's sort of a horn, so to speak. And we do that by taking our burnisher and our oil. Just put a little bit of oil on the burnisher, and you just take the burnisher, put it on the edge here, and drag it back like that. Turn it over, do the same. And now we'll go ahead and turn a burr with the Accu-Burr. We'll be right back. Okay, we're back. Definitely feel burr again. I used the large V groove once again. We're still on the Sandvik scraper. So here we go. feels like it has, it's definitely turning nice shavings. We'll just line them up here once again. So we definitely made shavings. All in all, I can't honestly say, I mean, very fine shavings. Again, I can't honestly say that it's an improvement. I'm actually not really thinking that that made much of a positive difference, frankly. This morning I thought it did. However, between then and now I've had a lot more practice prepping the edge of my scraper, so at this moment I'd say the jury is out at best. I'm not detecting an overwhelming improvement with a reproducible edge formation, which I hope is reproducible. So maybe time will tell, but at the moment I would say I wouldn't worry too much about stretching the metal out for those who are going forward. Drawing out the edge of the metal is a little bit inconclusive. Okay, I think we are definitely going to save the curved edges for the next video, and so let's go ahead and wrap it up. So, how do we feel about the Accu-Burr burnisher? Initial results look pretty positive. As you can see, I was getting very fine shavings from just a few passes of the burnisher on the edge of the card scraper. Its big strength is you get both corners at the same time, and you can hold the burnisher perpendicular, no more guessing what angle, no more, you know, a little bit, little bit, little bit, little bit, little bit, no more of that. Just set her up there perpendicular. I was doing about 4 passes. Obviously that would be another variable. It doesn't take very many. I think in the Union manufacturing video they used 2 passes, but 4 passes seemed to work fine. So initial, you know, my feeling at the moment is it's a positive development. I'm sort of looking forward to trying it in the future and making my scraping preparation a lot easier. So thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, please consider subscribing. By all means, leave comments and hit the like button. And so, without further ado, we'll see you next time on Mark's Woodworking Challenges.